When I was a boy, my grandfather would often sit by the fireplace, his pipe in hand, and share stories of his youth as a sailor. One particular story always sent chills down my spine. The tale of the giant creature he encountered in the depths of the Black Sea. It was 1954, he began, staring into the flames as though he could see the past through them. I was just 22, serving on a cargo ship called the Faithful. We were transporting machinery from Varna to Odessa, a routine trip we had done countless times. The sea was calm, the air crisp, and the stars brighter than I had ever seen. But night, the Black Sea lived up to its name. The old sailor leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. We were halfway through our journey when the calm broke. The water turned eerily still, and the wind died, leaving us in an unnatural silence. Even the waves seemed to hold their breath. It was as if the sea itself was afraid. The first sign of something amiss was subtle, a faint ripple in the distance. At first they thought it was nothing more than a pod of dolphins or a school of fish. But then the ripple grew, spreading outward like a dark shadow beneath the surface. The crew gathered at the edge of the deck, peering into the water, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. Then we saw it, my grandfather said, his hands trembling slightly. Two glowing eyes, the size of ship's lanterns, broke through the darkness. They were watching us. No one moved, no one spoke. And then it rose, a massive shape, larger than any whale, its skin dark and glistening like wet obsidian. Tentacles, longer than the ship itself, writhed in the water. The crew panicked. Some men ran for weapons, others for the radio, my grandfather recounted. I stood frozen, unable to tear my eyes away from the beast. It was no ordinary creature. It was ancient, something out of myths and nightmares. And it was angry. As the creature drew closer, it struck. A single tentacle lashed out, hitting the ship with the force of a hurricane. The deck shuddered, wood splintered, and the air filled with the screams of men and the sound of grinding metal. My grandfather and a few others scrambled to launch flares, their desperate lights illuminating the night in brief, eerie flashes. We fought back the only way we knew how, he continued. Flares, axes, anything we could find. But it wasn't enough. The beast was relentless. Each strike threatened to capsize the Faithful. We were at its mercy. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the creature stopped. It hovered near the ship, its glowing eyes fixed on the terrified crew. For a moment, time seemed to freeze, and then, without a sound, it sank back into the depths, disappearing as quickly as it had come. The aftermath was grim. We were left with a crippled ship, injured men, and a fear that lingered long after the beast was gone, my grandfather said. We limped back to port, never speaking of what we saw. Who would believe us? As he finished his story, the fire crackled softly, filling the silence. Do you think it's still out there? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Oh, it's out there, he replied, his eyes distant. And the Black Sea never forgets.